Assointerpreti first CPD day on remote interpreting. We are looking forward to hear from you and discover KUDO, your remote interpreting solution. And we are looking forward to also try and see the platform in action. So without any further ado, I'll give the floor to Sarah, a representative of our Assointerpreti National Board, who will give you a warm welcome on the behalf of the Association Assointerpreti. Thank you.
Hello, Ewandro. Can you hear me all right? Okay, thank you for being with us today, and hi from Bologna. So my name indeed is Sarah, and I am in charge of social media for the governing board of Assointerpreti. We're here today with 4/6 of the governing board, including our president over there at the end of the table. And we are the Italian National Association of Professional Conference Interpreters, which means that we work in simultaneous very much, but so far only in the booth. And so we are very interested in what the kind of services that you offer, because we know indeed that remote interpreting is becoming more and more of a thing. And so we want to keep abreast of developments, technological developments, and absolutely, we are very, very interested in what you're doing. I would just like to give you some general idea of who you're dealing with here. That is to say, the National Association of Professional Conference Interpreters just turned 45, actually, and as you may know, there was no guild or national register for interpreters in Italy, and so what we do is we have received recognition from the Italian government as interpreting professionals, and we also provide our members with quality certification. We are our members are selected based on a number of characteristics, because, for example, you have to possess, I don't know, the right background and also, of course, the right experience to work in the booth, so as to ensure that the kind of translation that we provide is up to certain very high, I would say, standards. And indeed, we work with the Italian government, we work with international organizations like the EU, for example, and of course, we also work very much with the private market out there. We're talking, just to give you a general idea, about around 150 people across the national territory, and we work into and from a number of languages, and into some of them, of course, which means from French and Spanish, for example, to more exotic ones like Chinese and Arabic. And indeed, Alice has organized this very interesting opportunity for us to know more about remote interpreting, because indeed we are aware of the fact that remote interpreting is here to stay. Remote interpreting is one of the most recent developments in the profession. We want to be and to remain on top of our game, of course, which means that we are very interested to know more about how it works, about the kind of service that you can provide, and indeed how to provide the best possible service to our clients, and maybe also how to best provide some useful advice to our colleagues, younger colleagues maybe, as well as colleagues in general. So this is pretty much it. If you have any questions, of course, you can have a look at our website, which is also available in English, of course, which is www.assointerpreti.it. And well, we very much, as Alice just said, we very much look forward to hearing what you have to tell us about KUDO. And indeed, just a tiny little closing note, that is to say, we are not all as tech savvy as she is, so please treat us a little different, not as if we were five-year-olds, but maybe as if we were more your grandmother's age, just so you know. Thank you. Over to you, Ewandro.
Both of you for the invitation and for thinking of KUDO for this demonstration. One announcement before we go. I'm asking Sebastian, who's actually here as an operator, to join us as actually here as an operator, to join us as a participant. We have this odd situation now at the building, in the building, where they're testing the fire alarm. So every now and again, you're going to hear a siren. When that happens, I'm going to send the floor over to Sebastian so he can entertain you for a minute talking about the different aspects of what we do. And once the sound is over, then I'll take over again. I hope you don't mind, okay? So
now we are interpreters, we always keep calm, right?
Yeah, sort of a plan B, okay? So Sebastian is already here with us. So before I proceed, so first let me speak of my satisfaction to actually addressing colleagues. Most of what I do in KUDO is talking to clients and people who don't understand the first thing about interpreting. So I'm very fortunate to, on occasion, be also doing these things for AIC and talking to colleagues, because it makes the conversation a lot easier, right? As you must be aware, we have French interpretation going for this meeting. So those of you who would like to get a taster of what interpretation sounds like in KUDO, you can at any point go to where it says floor on the platform. If you're on the computer, it's going to be lower left corner. And if you click on floor and go to French, you're going to hear the voice of Natalie, who is the in-house interpreter. For us here, she is French A, Spanish B, English C, and very happy to have her here. You can do the same on a cell phone. Just look for the word floor and it's the same procedure. So before I dive into the presentation, let me give you a feel of what you have in front of you so you know how to navigate the platform from the user point of view, okay? Those of you who have a computer in front of you, you have a lot of emphasis on the video. You see my face. And if you go top left on the presentation, you can toggle between my live video and the slides that I'm sharing. So if you click on presentation, you're going to see the first slide, KUDO Multilingual Meetings Reinvented. At any point, you can toggle back to live video and presentation. Mind you, when you see the presentation, you also have a thumbnail of the speaker. So if you want to be in presentation mode, you can. Now, you also have a button on the top right corner that you can click on to increase make it full screen for you. So if you click there, the content of what you have in front of you is going to be full screen, and you can click on it again to also make it small again, okay? And so at any time you can do that. When you expand the screen, you lose control over microphone and thumb and things like that. So it's something you want to do sparingly if you want to concentrate on something small on the screen or something like that. You also have a side menu bar with several functions. And I'm going to try a few just to give you, again, a taster. So I'm going to send you a hello and a down into all of you. So those of you who are on the computer will get a red dot where it says messaging. On the cell phone, it's going to be on the bottom menu bar. You can click there and you can reply to me. You can reply to all, or you can send messages to me privately or to people privately. Okay. I hear from Lorenzo. I hear from a few of you. Some of you are actually sending messages to operators. I see Enrique. It's sending messages to the operator. You can do that too, no problem. I see you because I'm in the slash, as a presenter / operator. Okay. Now let me ask you, Sarah, to cut your microphone for now.
Yes.
So we don't have additional noise, and we'll break for questions from time to time. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you have the messaging. You can send private messages and whatnot. Now, next thing I want to show you is that you can have engagement when you meet on KUDO. Instead of asking people to raise their hands, you can ask them questions and just sort of a survey or vote. So I'm going to go ahead and start a mock vote just for the sake of demonstration. So if you now realize, if you look again at the menu bar, you will see that you have a red dot where it says polls. If you go to polls and go to polls, you're going to see how many languages do you speak. You're going to see that question. Click on the question and choose whatever makes sense to you. So, and let's see what we get as a result. Submit your vote. Those of you on the cell phone can do the same. You just go to the menu bar. I'm going to give you another minute to choose. Can I go ahead and end the vote? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and end the vote, and I can immediately publish the results. So the results are now out. So if you go to polls again and poll results, You're going to see who voted how. So 5 of you speak 4 or more languages. Kudos to you. 7 of you speak 3 languages. 2 of you speak only 2 languages, and I speak only 1 language. So that's the one you see there is me. So if you click on those on the computer, if you click on the graphic icons, you will see those results shown to you graphically as a pie chart or as a bar chart. Interpreters, by the way, have access to the results. So if we run a test or a survey and so on, when we talk about the results, the interpreters can go where you just went and see the results, so they are part of the conversation, okay? You also have documents that you can share as the meeting progresses. So for example, I've uploaded a copy of the interpreter interface that you can click on and download to your computers, or if you're on the cell phone, you can take a look at and have it in front of you. You can pinch and zoom in and out and so on. So you can actually share documents as you go. There's also a way for you to upload documents that only interpreters will see. So if a speaker comes last minute with a speech that interpreters need to prepare last minute, but it's not supposed to be leaked to the public too early, there's a way for you to upload it in the platform in such a way that only interpreters get to see. So that's KUDO in a nutshell from the user perspective. Any questions so far?
No, we're good.
We're good. It's all working. Everybody can hear the French and can go everywhere, and it's all working.
Yes.
Excellent. Fantastic. So let me now dive into my presentation. Okay, so I ask you to now go to the slide deck. And first slide shows you the KUDO logo and the name. So KUDO basically is an Albanian word that means anywhere, everywhere. It's the equivalent of the French word partout, but only partout is hard to pronounce in English. So we went with something that's easier, catchier, nicer to pronounce. Also, the logo means the integration of every culture, every color, every language, every race, every corner of the world. So that's what we wanted to have embedded in the logo, if you will. Sarah, let me ask you to cut your mic again, please. Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much about the whole operation, business group, and so on, but very briefly, just to say that KUDO is the 3rd company of a business group that also has a company that sells high-end conferencing equipment. That's the equipment you find at the UN, and also rents equipment for the G20s of the world, the large meetings, and so on and so forth. So KUDO was something we came up with because we realized that having an equipment like the one we installed at the United Nations, everything you have everywhere in the United Nations headquarters here has been provided by MediaVision. All the conferencing equipment, all the microphones and so on. Having that equipment not always will save you. All it takes is for someone to be outside of the venue and you need that person to speak. The equipment is not going to help you. Right? So this is our team. You have Natalie in the center here, the French interpreter with us today. Farhad Zabechan is our CEO of the 3 companies. Has been in this space for 20 years. Parham is our chief product engineer out of the Silicon Valley, and the rest of us are operators like Pablo, business developer, and of course developers. Sebastian is here as well from Belgium. And I represent, of course, the interpreting side of the operation. Right? I've been an interpreter for 30 years. I have also been a chief interpreter in the United Nations system for 7 years. So I've spent my life managing interpreters, training them, or working as one. So my job in KUDO is to make sure that everything we do makes sense first for the interpreters and then for everybody else. So I'm going to skip a few slides here because we didn't upload the exact right presentation. So I'm going to go straight to the part that matters to us as interpreters. In terms of features, what you experience when you go to KUDO is allegedly very good video and audio, but there's something peculiar to KUDO, which is something we call audio fallback, meaning if your conditions start to deteriorate, the video is going to suffer first. It can get a bit pixely, it can even freeze for a second, but audio will remain strong because audio is of the essence for the interpreters and for the meeting goers, and video is very good to have, right? In any event, when you do have video, the lip syncing is supposed to be perfect, right? So I hope you're getting my face, if you're looking at my face, with the mouth moving pretty much as it should, and the way it should work for an interpreter. Something else you will notice in KUDO is that anybody who takes the floor becomes big on the screen. This is annoying for people when they first meet on KUDO because they start speaking and they see themselves. Now you have a way to actually go and pin somebody else so you don't look at yourself. But this is done in such a way so that the interpreters can see the face up close of the person who's speaking. So I'm not going to cover the other features here because they're pretty self-evident at this point. What I want to do now is to talk to you about two important concepts. And the first one is the concept of a KUDO studio, right? So the minute you talk about a cloud-based solution, the first conclusion that most people jump to is, oh, now so I can work from home. Well, technically you can. Yeah, I'm actually working from home today. I'm on the amenities floor of my building, where we have a nice set of meeting rooms and so on when the alarm is not firing. So, and you can technically meet from anywhere as long as you have decent connectivity. But there are many things you don't control, like, for example, the fire drills, or the dog that's going to start barking. Maybe the neighbors start to fight, or a contractor comes and starts drilling a hole in the wall. So for that reason, instead of having interpreters work from home, we have set up and envisioned and then implemented the studio concept. A studio is a set of booths that you implement somewhere, that you build somewhere, where everything has been looked into for you. So you come and you walk in as an interpreter, you're going to find the right computer with the right processing capacity, the right headset, an auxiliary monitor, a technician standing by 2 feet away, everything you need to have in place, plus redundant internet provision, a Wi-Fi on top of it, power control in case the lights go off, you can still continue to have a meeting. Everything has been put in place to make sure that the meeting is not going to be interrupted. But the most important aspect is that interpreting is teamwork. So you don't want interpreters working in isolation. And the studio provides you with an environment where you can come in, sit down and have a colleague. You can exchange notes. So it's business as usual. The only difference is that you may not have people in front of you. Although in our studio here in Washington, D.C., we actually have it as a conference room as well. So you can actually use it for meetings that are on site. So we have now studios in all these cities. We're opening one in Hamburg. We're opening one in Cambridge. We just did it this week. And so it's growing. And the way we grow is through partners like LSPs, like international organizations, interpreters. Several of them are now joining us and setting up their own studios. So the idea is to grow this to a point where anywhere where there is enough interpreters, you're going to have a few hubs that people can come to, sit down and work from professionals. Okay? If you download the presentation, I can send you a copy later. Actually, Pablo, you can upload a copy of the presentation. We had one, but I guess I deleted it. You can, in that case, go for the links here. One is a video that our colleague Barry also put together of his experience at the studio, and some more information about that. Now, when you come to work for KUDO, it's also important that you know what you're doing. So you need to be told what kind of gear to use, how to prepare for any problems that you might find, and where to click and how to operate the platform. So we put together a training tutorial, if you will, that is available online, and you can go, it's free of charge. Any interpreter can go there today and take it. It takes 2 hours to complete, and that makes you proficient in KUDO, right? It doesn't come with any strings attached. It doesn't make you necessarily a remote interpreter. It only means that given the opportunity, if you have to jump at a meeting where KUDO is the platform, you know what to do, okay? So if you follow this link, and Sebastian perhaps could share a different link here, which is the actual link to the platform. Any of you who would like to become, so to speak, KUDO proficient can do so today. It's a very well-paced series of videos and instructions, at the end of which you take a quiz and you're good to go. So this is the interpreter interface in KUDO. So if you're coming in as an interpreter and you're going to have a chance to try, you have the same emphasis on video. You can toggle between live video and presentation. You continue to see the speaker. full control over your microphone. You can come from the floor, or you can take relay. You can pre-program up to 3 languages for relay. And of course, the first thing you do is you come in and you program your outgoing languages. You can pre-configure 3 languages. And so if you're an Italian interpreter, this is going to say Italian and English maybe. And you might have English here as a support relay language. So you come in, you click here, and you start interpreting into Italian. If somebody speaks a language you don't understand, then you can take relay. As a matter of fact, let's try the other way around. So I'm going to start speaking a little bit of French, which is not really my language. And Natalie will go back into English for you, okay? So let's see how it works if the interpreter has to go in a different direction. Actually, instead of making a fool of myself trying to speak French with a funny accent, let me ask Sebastian, who is Belgian and a native francophone, to introduce himself in French. Sarah, let me ask you again to cut your mic so we don't have noise in the system.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Sebastian, go ahead.
Bonjour à tous et à tous, à toutes. J'espère que vous pouvez entendre.
Listen to me through Natalie. It's a great pleasure to me to be here with you. I'm from Belgium, and it's really nice to be able to speak French, my native language. KUDO allows me to do that, and it's very nice to see how you can follow everything I'm saying through the interpretation, and how KUDO allows to connect everyone everywhere. So I will give the floor back to Ewandro, but if you want me to keep speaking French, please let me know.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, Sebastian. So thank you guys very much. So that shows you how it works. Now, don't be too hard on Natalie. She's a C, English C interpreter. So she doesn't usually go into English. She usually goes between French and Spanish. But I was listening to her and she did a very good job. Yeah, you do indeed. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with the French because they always speak very fast. Anyway, let's finish it up. So we have a few more bells and whistles that I want to show you, and then I'm going to break and we can have a conversation, which I think is going to be more productive, okay? So everything you see on the platform, by the way, was mimicked after the actual console. Even the color coding follows the ISO standards, where, for example, red is on for the microphone and green is off, which is counterintuitive for some people, right? So everything that we could do to actually make it, closer to the usual experience we have. So in terms of controlling the interface, you can do it in 4 different ways. You can control it with your mouse, clicking on stuff. If you have a touch screen monitor, you can actually touch it with your hands. I have a touch screen monitor, so I prefer when I'm doing it as an interpreter, I go and configure everything using the mouse, and then from that point on, it's just my hands. And you also have shortcut keys. So if you prefer to use the keyboard, once you configure everything, you have shortcut keys that you can resort to activate your mic, cut your mic, toggle between video and presentation and things like that. It makes it easier. But what we're really excited about is this new guy here. So this is a little keypad, a USB component that you buy from Amazon, costs $80. And we send you a file to have you configure it the way you see it here. So you pre-configure these 6 buttons to be toggle, video, and presentation, outgoing channel selection, incoming channel selection, microphone on and off, mute, and floor as opposed to incoming. It also comes with this button, this volume button, which is very sturdy, nice to the touch, very heavy. You click on it like this, it cuts your mic, so it mutes you, and you can click again, regain control over your microphone, and it's very nice to use if you want to increase your volume up and down and so on, in terms of incoming audio as well. So if you download the presentation and click here, you're going to see a nice video that I did about it that covers it in detail. It's an interesting, very interesting system. So that's the end of my formal presentation. Only thing I didn't show you is that you see the shortcut keys here. They're also available here on the platform. And if you're coming to one of our studios, you're going to see it also in a plastic sheet that's going to be on the desk, so you don't have to keep those things in mind. If you keep here, boom, these things are going to pop up and you can go from there, okay? So that's the end of my formal presentation, Alice. Why don't I stop here? And
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ewandro. It was very, very
Okay.
interesting what you said. And we do have actually a few questions for you based on what you said and on our own experience, of course, our interest as interpreters, our priorities as interpreters. So, for example, you mentioned as interpreters, our priorities as interpreters. So, for example, you mentioned the fact that you're opening studios in Hamburg and Cambridge. And what about Italy? Do you have any plans concerning Italy?
Yours is going to be the first, Sarah. Okay? So okay. Basically, no, we've had a lot of interest from Italy, and we're in negotiations with a few colleagues in different cities, but it hasn't materialized to the point that we actually have the studio. But we're open to any colleague who would like to approach us. We have a full system in place. We can send you an agreement template that spells out all the conditions for you, and also a full blueprint of everything you need to have in a studio, from the computer you need to have to the hooks you need to have on the wall for the purses and coats, okay? It's very easy to do.
Okay, thank you very much. That's good news. And then it could be that in the future we might be working together. Now, if that's the case, we would like to know what are the qualifications for an interpreter to work with you? What kind of quality standards do you aim for?
Because it helps me make a very important distinction clear. KUDO does not want to become another LSP. KUDO is just the platform provider and wants to become just a platform provider. Because what we do is still very new, some clients turn to us in search of a turnkey solution, and they ask us to provide the interpreters along with the platform. And on those occasions, we still do. Like we're doing now, we're putting together now a major event for one of the social media platforms. It's going to be in 15 languages, 2 days, all over the world. And I'm in the process of staffing this meeting pretty much like I did in my years in Geneva as a chief interpreter. But it's not what we aspire to do. We want to partner with LSPs like yours. So you vet the interpreters the way you've always done. You negotiate your prices with them the way you've always done. So KUDO does not impose rate, does not impose rate methods, compensation methods like hourly as opposed to half days or full days. It will be whatever your interpreters consider acceptable and so on. Now, if you come to us, like if I reach out to you now for this particular event, because I'm in this hybrid position now where we still have to do it, then we have our model contract, where we ask you to consider if these conditions are satisfactory to you, and some negotiation takes place. As far as the training that I mentioned, when you go and take the training, you will see that one thing we make very clear from the get-go is that KUDO is not for beginners. KUDO is for conference interpreters. So you have to check a box that says, I am a conference interpreter and I know what I'm doing. Now, it's all based on self-declaration so far. So down the road, if you reach out to one of the interpreters, even on our roster, you have to do your due diligence. You have to ask for a CV. You have to do everything you would do offline if you're hiring an interpreter anyhow, right? So the profile is quite complete. It shows your education, whether you went to school for interpreting or not, whether you are AIC or what other affiliation you have. But down the road, at the end of the day, it's the job of the client or the partner to actually vet the interpreter further.
Okay, very interesting because, of course, as I said, we are the National Association of Professional Conference Interpreters. So for us, quality standards are very, very important, as are ethical standards as well. So this was a very interesting presentation. Thank you very much. And now, so I'll pass the microphone over to Alice for the wrap up of this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. By the way, any of our colleagues, from where they are, if they want to ask questions through the cell phones, they can. Right? They just have to request to speak, and I'll have a list of who wants to ask a question. I can clear them to speak, and we will see and hear them anytime. Okay? So feel free to ask questions if you want.
Thank you, Ewandro. Thank you for your time, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for showing us what KUDO is, and actually for all the information that you provided. It has been absolutely interesting. I would like to also thank the interpreter, Natalie, working for us today, Sebastian, and all the technical IT staff that has assisted us so far. So from the behalf of Assointerpreti, thank you very much. Arrivederci, KUDO. A presto.